Hello, is that Reed?
This is that Reed, yeah. What's up, my man? How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, this is Graham. Yeah,
Right on, right on.
yeah. So yeah, thanks for your time, and what a wonderful time of year it is as well.
Yes, sir. Steve, right? You guys doing a big party in there?
I'm not going to do a particular party. I actually saw a friend last night who returned from a touring trip herself. Actually, she's a singer in a band, and she just did a little tour in Europe, and she just came back last night, and so we caught up with some friends. That was really nice.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm just thought,
Just wear like hats. Don't you guys like wear hats, just paper hats on Christmas?
yeah, that's right. We have the crackers that we open and have the little crowns on.
Yeah, that's what it is. I've seen it in the movies before. I've seen it in a couple movies.
So yeah, it's good to speak to you, and on this eve of your tour as well. And do you have much planned over the next couple of days, or are you going to spend time with your family before you launch out?
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out with the folks tonight and tomorrow, and then I head out on Tuesday. Our first show is on Wednesday in Denver with
Oh right.
the Black Label Society. Yeah.
Oh wow, that'll be
Fun, dude.
a nice gig as well. And also great to be celebrating the launch of the new album. I love Wolf Named Crow. It's such a good groovy sound, keeping that traditional.
Yeah.
Sort of, well,
I
not
like that one too.
yeah. Have you noticed any changes in the creation of the songs for the album?
Oh no, it's pretty much the same. Essentially the same as it's been since God, I don't know, 1985. Yeah, but and the difference here was this was the first record we did with Pepper. The four of us have done together in I think since 2000 or something like that.
Okay.
It was like we've been separated just for a couple months. We're pretty good at writing songs together, and particularly Woody, Mike, and myself. The way it started is I got a drum set for Christmas in like 81, 82, something like that.
Oh right.
One of those cheap pawn shop drum kits, sparkly thing. Santa Claus brought it for me. And
An anniversary then.
I didn't know how to play. Yeah, I didn't know how to play, but Woody, who I've known since fifth grade, I've known Woody forever. He knew a couple beats. He knew the Ramones beat, that you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He knew how to go do that, do that. So he showed me how to go do that, do that. So I had that one down, and then a friend of mine named Eric Ike, rest his soul, he just passed away. He was a singer for COC on the Eye for an Eye record.
Okay.
He just passed away like a month ago.
Ah, sorry to hear that.
He showed me the. Yeah, me too. It sucked. Yeah, he drank himself to death. Ugh. Anyway, Eric showed me. He can play a little too. He showed me the Cut Time, Minor Threat, Bad Brains, Uta 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 Uta. So I had Uta Uta Uta, and I had do that. And because I had those two beats, and because the prerequisite of starting a hardcore punk band in North Carolina wasn't that high, we started Corrosion of Conformity like a month later.
So you already were friends, already had a connection together.
Yeah, Woody and I have, like I said, had been friends for since the 70s or something. And yeah, we were friends with Mike at the time too. So the three of us kind of learned how to play music together, right? We started out with rudimentary hardcore punk rock, and then because we were all real into bands like Sabbath and Iron Maiden and Deep Purple and shit like that, as well as all the punk bands and stuff.
Yeah.
Some of that, as we learned how to play our instruments a little bit better, we were better at adding different parts and different time signatures and all that other kind of stuff. So Mike Dean and Woody and I developed all at the same time, like our ability to play. So we don't even think about stuff lots of times. We just can anticipate what the other one's going to do.
I guess that's a reflection of your relationship together as well, is that it wasn't just the playing instruments, but how you are together, that there's that way of communicating that's non-verbal that can come across in your playing.
Yeah, absolutely. So check it out. While we're doing our hardcore punk thing, Pepper was a big fan. He lived in New Orleans. We lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. And he was a fan of ours. Whenever we would go to New Orleans, like in the mid-'80s, his band Graveyard Rodeo would open up for us. So he identified with what we were doing way back when, right?
Oh, great.
So when he joined the band, it was like he'd been a member all the time anyway.
So already that familiarity was there.
Oh, yeah, he was a big fan. He was a pen pal. He and I were pen pals.
So after meeting, you stayed in touch, so that's great.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the kind of the scene was quite tight. And it's actually, that was, at that time, it seems like a very interesting time in music as well, because you had the evolution from the 70s, as you said, the Black Flag, Black Sabbath, into the 80s when you had all the metal and side really came to the fore, and you're a part of that wave as well. I was going to ask you about your influences. You mentioned some of them, but I guess you've also influenced many bands over the years. Have there been any changes in the music that you've liked and been inspired by over the years?
I mean, you can tell. I mean, we still like a lot of the same stuff, but there's good bands that pop up all the time. Yeah, we were talking about influences on our first tour when we went to. This is like '83, I think, or '84. Our first tour on the Eye for an Eye record, we went to California, and we were already into like thrash metal stuff. We were into Slayer and Death Angel and Dark Angel and Metallica and all that kind of stuff. I was actually a member of the Metal Militia in '83. But so we went out there and we got to meet all those guys and play with some of them out there, and became friends with them. And one of the bands we became good friends with that we were really into was Slayer.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I think Jeff Hanneman is wearing a COC shirt on their second album, a red COC shirt. So when they were going to go on their very first tour, we had never played together and they'd never seen us. So they worked it out so we would open up for them in Baltimore. And we were already kind of big in Baltimore, like, because they had a really good punk scene there. So we did pretty well there on our own anyway. But they wanted to see us, and, obviously we wanted to see them again.
Yeah.
I think this was Haunting the Chapel tour. And they're cruising around. They're cruising in a Trans Am and a U-Haul truck. So we show up, and the band that's supposed to play first is this doomy band from that area, Baltimore, Maryland area, called The Obsessed. Do you know the band?
Yeah, I know the name.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're a great band, and we're friends with them now. But when we showed up then, they informed everybody that they were not going to open for a punk band, which I guess they meant us.
Yeah.
Dude, this place was completely packed. There would be no way you could get any more people in that motherfucker. So we're like, okay, whatever. Don't bother us, man. But the Slayer guys got pissed off.
Yeah.
What the hell is that all about? And we're like, no drama, man. Let's just have fun. You're like, no, that's bullshit. No. So we went on first, and we killed it, dude. It was such a great show. You know those popcorn makers at the movie theater?
Yeah.
Popcorn's flying all over the place. That's what it was like. People stage diving and flying all over the place. It was awesome.
What energy.
So we're loading our gear off, and the Obsessed try to load their gear on, and the Slayer guys and their crew wouldn't let them on the stage.
No way.
They're like, oh, okay. Yeah, they're like, you're not going to open for a punk band, but you're playing after Slayer. So Slayer went on and killed it, and poor Obsessed had to play to 7 people.
Oh, yeah, just sort of keep the energy going.
Yeah, right. But after the show, we were hanging out by their U-Haul truck or whatever, with Trans Am, hanging out with the Slayer guys. And I don't remember if it was Lombardo or Hanneman or who it was, but maybe both. Came up to me because I was the one that kind of did all the business back then. I mean, there's as much business as there was, but they're big fans, and they're like, dude, your first album is killer, but we know you did it DIY and all that, you put it out yourself. And I was like, yeah, well, that's about all. It's about all there is out there for us.
Yeah.
And they said, well, stuff that, man. We're going to get you signed. You need a label that's going to back you up and market you guys and publicize you guys.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that'd be fine. Anyway, we just thought they were being nice. But my dad, who's always been a big supporter of COC, he actually bought our first van for us, Ford O'Connell 150. But he let me do, quote, business, unquote, out of his office. And he had the peak of technology at the time, which was a fax machine. So I gave the Slayer guys my fax number. I was just thinking they were being nice, right?
Yeah.
But, well, we'll get you signed, but I guess we had a couple more shows. That show was on Friday, and I think we had a Saturday and Sunday show. And we drive home to Raleigh, and I get a call from my dad in the afternoon on Monday. He's like, you have a contract in the fax machine here from some Metal Blade Records?
Perfect.
Yeah, so Slayer, they weren't kidding. They got us signed like that next week.
Great. So they definitely liked you. It shows you the camaraderie in the scene as well.
Yeah, totally. I wish you saw more of that. It's still around, but I wish you saw more of it.
I'm noticing a bit as I've got back into the scene a little bit here in the UK. There's some wonderful doom and stoner rock bands, and there's a lovely family feel between them when they organise gigs where there's like a nice bill and they're all together, and they kind of keep everything moving, which is really nice. And also, you reminded me when you're speaking there as well that with how the things have gone in the music industry, that things have almost gone back to being a bit DIY.
Oh, yeah. It's funny you said that. Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about that yesterday. It's like on 360. Like nowadays, you have to go out and tour. You can't rely on a big label to give you fork over like big piles of cash.
Yeah.
Because they don't really make any money anymore. They don't really have anything to sell. I mean, vinyl here and there, but...
Yeah, or the bigger ones might do if they know that you've already got a following. That's why they see if you're already got a following on YouTube and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So this last record came about because while Pepper was still doing Down and Knox, Mike Dean and Woody and myself decided we were going to reform COC, but the hardcore punk version. So we had all sorts of fans that either weren't born or missed the band and stuff like that. And it had been bugging us about getting back together and do kind of a nostalgia trip.
Yeah.
So anyway, we weren't doing anything, and then we got, let's try it out. And it ended up being awesome. It was really fun. Did an album and a couple of EPs. But the whole time we were doing that three-piece thing, like Pepper would be calling me like every month. And this is my Pepper impression. Mule. He calls me Mule. Me Reed. He calls me Mule. Mule. Dude, we got to get this shit back together. I was like, dude, I'm down, but you're playing in Down right now. That's not really going to work. No. When we take a break, man, we got to do this shit. Okay. So about 6 months later, Pepper called me every month. About 6 months later, Down were taking a break. Jimmy Bauer was doing something. Phil Anselmo was doing, one of his 15, 16 bands.
Yeah.
And so we got it back together, man. We started out by first shows back together as this lineup. We did some UK dates, and then we did some European dates. And it was one of those things where we hadn't played together in a while. The rehearsals were phenomenal, but, until you get out on the road, you don't really know.
Yeah.
Plus, it was sort of like a litmus test, also a barometer to see what the fans thought of it, whether it was fun, and importantly, whether we got along. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being stuck in Anyway, all those things came true, dude. We had so much fun, and the fans were nuts. And everybody's super enthusiastic. Anyway, when we did that, an old friend of mine named Monty Connor, who used to be at Roadrunner Records, he's from New York. I've known him for like 25, 30 years. Anyway, he caught wind of the fact that we were doing that, and he wanted to know if it was for real, like if we were really going to do an album or if this was just a nostalgia trip, Anyway, I said, no, I think it's for real. Yeah, I think so. I mean, give us a little more time. And so then he said this to me. This is the first conversation we had about it. He said, that album you did, Deliverance? I'm like, yeah. He said, that's not just my favorite COC record. It's one of my favorite records of all time. This is the president of the company, of the U.S. part of Clear Blast. And so he said that, look, man, I'm going to sign you guys. If you guys are serious about doing an album, I'm going to sign you. Like, okay, Monty, that sounds good. And then he did the same thing to me that Pepper had done before about touring. Monty Connor called me every month. What's going on? What's going on? And finally, I was like, well, draft us up a deal. See what you think it would look like. And he gave us a tremendous deal, and we signed with them, and then we ended up recording this new record, which I think is phenomenal. I think it's one of the best we've ever done.
Yeah, it's got that grooviness, as I said, and the heaviness as well, and the production's really good. And it was great to see you guys. I saw you last year in Camden in London, and the energy's really good. The sound's really thick and heavy as well, and just great to see you guys back in action. Now, you kind of answered it a bit anyway, but I was going to ask you if, what changes there were in the touring. Obviously, you're older now, and there's probably family differences and stuff, but if you're having a good time together, and it just shows, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It shows on stage. I mean, I think we played Camden a couple of times. Which show was the one you were talking about?
The Electric Ballroom, that's it.
Yeah. I think we played there twice, and they were both just amazing shows, yeah. Anyway, you can probably tell because it kind of flows off the stage.
Yeah.
We are having fun. Yeah.
Was there anything that you brought from your, I was going to say hiatus, but you had your projects that you went away to do as well? Was there anything that you kind of learned from that you brought to the table when you returned with a COC?
Well, we all contribute. I mean, I write music too, and I write lyrics too. Like we have a song called Albatross that I wrote.
Yeah.
We wrote together. I wrote the lyrics. Yeah, so we all contribute. On this one, there was probably Pepper with most of the words, Pepper and Mike Dean. But that's a collaborative thing. We like build a bunch of riffs, and then whomever wants to write lyrics, we'll write some lyrics, and we go from there. This studio, when we got the deal, the original idea was that we were gonna demo the songs, or write the songs because we didn't really have that many, and demo them at our rehearsal space in Raleigh, because Mike Dean, our bass player, has a nice recording rig in there. And then what we were going to do is we were going to go to, after we had a bunch of songs, we were going to go to, like, I'm friends with Dave Grohl, that Foo Fighters guy.
Okay.
And he's got a really nice studio in Northridge, California.
Is that the one with the analog desk he bought? There's that documentary he did about it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, great.
The Sound City one?
Yeah.
It's a great studio. Huge drum room. So the idea was we were going to demo in Raleigh and then do the basics at Dave's place, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Man, the songs, our guy John Custer, who's sort of like our George Martin, he's sort of like our fifth member.
Yep.
He's been producing the band since '91. He knows us so well. It's crazy, dude. He's a mind reader. But one thing he's really, really good at doing is getting good takes and energy out of us. Like I could play a song and I'd be like a metronome. It would be perfect.
Yeah.
But he could tell if it was the energy just wasn't right and get me to do it again. And he was always right. It wasn't always he has such a good ear, and he knows how the four of us worked and what to do to get the best out of us. So anyway, the demo started sounding so fucking good. Question was, well, why are we going to record this again?
Yeah.
How are we going to make this better? So then we blew off the idea of doing the basics at like Dave's place or something, and mixed stuff in Raleigh to a certain extent, and then we gave it to an old friend of ours who mixed a Wise Blood record named Mike Frazier.
Yeah.
He's in Vancouver. Anyway, he's kind of a famous. He did like AC/DC and Guns N' Roses and such. But he's a big fan of ours, and so we got him to mix it. Dude, it sounds so fucking badass.
And that's a great description as well, saying a fifth member is in that, because then there's that continuity in the connection with you, and yeah, as you say, what he's able to bring from you and the sound to create.
Absolutely, yeah. You hit the nail on the head, Daddy. All right. Andre 3000. All right.
It's interesting to speak to you now as well, because I've had this crazy couple of days where my back flared up pretty bad, and I know that when you had to leave the band initially, there was to do with some issue with your back. Yeah,
I had an issue with my back in the '90s, and then I got that worked on, and I got fixed pretty good.
Oh, great.
But yeah, and then about 4 or 5 years ago, we were finishing up the 3-piece funk version before we got back with Pepper.
Yep.
And our last run started in Cardiff. And our first show was in Cardiff. The very first song, the very first drum roll, I did this drum roll and I hit the cymbal and I heard a pop.
Oh.
I was like, oh shit. My right arm just went down. I was like, oh, that's not good. Anyway, I ended up finishing the tour, but I had to lower all my cymbals real low because I couldn't raise my arm up. I went to the hospital a bunch of times, but they would x-ray me and they'd say, well, we're pretty sure it's your rotator cuff, but we can't tell for sure when you need an MRI.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm doing an MRI. And I'll be like, I'm going to be in Lyon tomorrow because we had all these shows booked. I don't know. So it wasn't until I got home I found out, I got an MRI by my guy. Yeah, it was my rotator cuff. I broke it in half.
Oh, man.
Finished the tour. I don't know.
But it's healed okay now.
Well, and right now I got to get a knee replacement, so I'm kind of falling apart, dude. I'll be bionic before you know it. Bionic mule.
Yeah, but
is your back okay? What part of your back?
It's the bottom, the lower back, the lumbar area. So it's
lumbar, yeah.
It's funny you say that about painkillers because when I get up, it takes me a while to get out of bed and straighten up. So you find those moments to really push yourself through, and then have a dose of painkillers to get stuff done. So I'm looking to get that fix, but it's just a funny time of year to be able to see anybody.
Well, when your back's fucked up, everything sucks because you can't sleep, and when you can't sleep, everything sucks more. And yeah, it's a bad deal. Unless you've had back pain, you can't really sympathize with it.
It's funny you say that. Yeah.
It'll tear your life up.
Yeah, because part of my day job is being a massage therapist, and I've had back issues before, and I kind of know how to deal with it, other people, and help them with it. But yeah, to experience this is maybe I've had to go through it to some degree to know how to apply and help others with it.
Wow. Where are you going to have surgery? It's going to go on?
It's only been the last couple of days, so I've not had it looked at yet, to be honest. So I've just been getting by with it at the moment. I've been recommended.
You know it's fucked up, but you haven't gone to the doctor yet?
That's a good point, because I guess I've been working at it myself because of what I do. But yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I need to see if it's a disc or something.
That was a question, not a statement.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
See a doctor, Daddy. Get see you a doctor, Daddy-o.
Yeah, that's a good point. I should get out and see someone rather than just assuming it's going to get better. But if it's not yet, so that.
You know what I mean? When you can't sleep. I mean, just when you can't sleep, period, that sucks. But when you can't sleep and it's because your back's all fucked up, that's the worst, man. I
can kind of sleep up until a point when I guess at some point during the night I have to move over. But the worst part is just getting up and getting out of bed. That's when it really kicks in.
Right.
So yeah, sleep's not too bad. So I guess that's helped a bit. So that's my next phase in seeing what happens over Christmas.
Well, I'm kind of surprised that Zakk wanted to start the tour so early, but he doesn't grow any moss upon his os. He likes to work.
It's a funny time of year to start, but actually a powerful time. So maybe it's a good omen because you're starting the tour as you launch into the new year. So that might help with a bit of momentum behind you.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. No, I think it's going to be tremendous for us. And it's going to be the longest tour we've done in a while. It's something that we used to do like in the 80s and 90s, like it was no problem at all. But this is, I think it's 2 months long, 45, 50 shows.
Wow, that's a lot of shows in 2 months.
Yeah, that's a lot of shows. So that we were a little hesitant to say yes at first, particularly Woody and Pepper, because they got kids. Mike, Dean, and I only have dogs. But when we first got the offer from Zakk, Woody and Pepper wanted to know if we could just do half the tour, and Zakk was no, you got to do the whole thing. And so, I mean, like you said, this is perfect because our record's coming out, our album's coming out rather, and we'll be playing in front of a bunch of people. And what was our other option? It was flip to headline and play in front of the people that like us already. I mean, by playing with Black Label Society, we're going to be playing in front of a shitload of people who've probably never seen us before.
Right.
So it worked out perfect.
Yeah, because Zakk's got his own particular following, and you guys together. But there's also a bit of a similarity. There's a kind of bit of a blues influence as well. So I think there's a nice way that you can complement each other. So that's going to be a great tour.
Yeah, I think so too. There's going to be some good crossover in between his audience and ours. Yeah.
So when they hear you,
great.
Yeah, they're going to hear you and really go for it. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, man, totally. We're stoked. Yeah, I leave on Tuesday, and then we start the tour on Wednesday. And
then you're looking forward to maybe going further afield around the world with it?
Are we going to take it around the world?
Yeah, we're going to hit the UK again.
Yeah, leave that. That's one of the best parts of being in a band. You get to travel and see stuff and meet people. I mean, I think I get one of the best jobs ever. Being able to just cruise around and get paid for it.
Yeah, like I was saying to my friend last night when she came back from Europe, and a couple of her friends at this little get-together were musicians as well, and they were talking about that. Sometimes it's difficult in terms of the income might not be as much as it could be, and you're sacrificing a bit on that front, but what you're gaining in doing what you love is so much more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. You're exactly right.
Do you have any favorites that come to mind around the world of places you've been that you enjoy and want to see and the people you meet?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we've been around for so long. Like I said, we started in 1982. So I don't even know if you were born yet.
I was 74.
Oh, right on. But, so, different scenes have popped up in different cities. I think we essentially had good shows pretty much everywhere. In North Carolina, there was a couple scenes that popped up out of the blue in these little towns. One on the coast called Wilmington, and they had a great scene in the early 90s, and then it just disappeared. it disappeared because of the big club and the guy who booked all the shows disappeared. And the same thing happened in Winston-Salem, which is another city, but it's not a big city, in the West. And just as an example, just in North Carolina, they had the two best scenes at different times in the 90s, and then they just went away. I don't know. But that's kind of the way it is, has always been. But I don't know.
Yeah, that happens in London, actually, where there'll be like a venue where there'll be the place bands play a lot, and then it might move on somewhere else.
Oh, yeah, dude. What was the first time we went over there, we played a theater. It was I think it started with an A.
Like the Hammersmith Apollo, maybe? Or
Hammersmith? No, a smaller. Whatever, the Astoria?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's gone now, right?
It is, sadly, yeah. The whole building's been taken down because of this new train project across London.
Oh, shit.
I remember seeing Metallica there for a secret gig as well during the Black Album era.
At the Astoria?
Yeah.
Holy fuck, that was good.
That was amazing. Yeah, really grateful to see that.
Wow, that's pretty badass.
That's a great venue.
The place was killer.
And just down the road as well at that time was the Marquee Club.
Oh, yeah. I think we played there before.
Yeah, you must have done if you're...
Famous place.
It is, but sadly it's just a pub now. You know, when you walk in there, it has some posters and stuff saying of what it was like, but now it's just a routine pub, sadly. I don't know if it was a change of owners or something that stopped it being the Marquee, sadly.
Oh, that's a shame. Isn't the Marquee the place where, like an old Who poster with Pete Townsend on it?
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And also, I think, and Motorhead as well, I think, had some... Because it had the famous sign, the Marquee, in the back of the stage. So the pictures of people playing and seeing that behind.
I think I saw some pictures of Iron Maiden playing back in the Diano era, too.
I'm sure. Yeah, they'd have played there, and also in where they're from as well, in the east of London. A couple of pubs there in their home area or streets of like East Ham. There's a couple of pubs there, obviously, still celebrating the time they were there with the posters of them being there and stuff.
I don't know. We toured with Maiden once.
Oh, wow, that must have been fun.
Yeah, 92 was us, Testament, and Maiden on the Fiel of the Dock. Yeah, that was really fun. I was kind of hesitant. Well, not hesitant, but I don't know. This is where on the Blind tour, doing the Blind album, and we never played any kind of venues like that before. We played big clubs. We never played sheds before.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, dude, are we going to be able to do this? And at the time, I was friends with Soundgarden and Alice in Chains manager, Susan Silver.
Okay.
So I called her up because I was kind of distressed, and she said, dude, if you don't do this, you're going to regret it the rest of your life.
Of course.
So we did it. It was really took care of us. They were super cool to us. It was great. It was a great tour. Because
your sound can carry a big space, because when I first saw you was supporting Metallica in Earl's Court, and that's a big space. And the Deliverance, I think. Sorry, the Wise Blood was the album.
Right on. Yeah. I remember that.
I remember I think I walked in when you started, so that was, yeah. There's that curtain there as you get in and you're playing, and so it was big and heavy, and it carried the space. So it's good to have that. So you're able to play in a small club and be powerful and awesome, but then carry it in a big space. So you've had all these experiences. That's great.
Yeah, it was when we were doing the Maiden thing. I really, I didn't have much money, and I had a lot of cymbals, but they're all cracked and fucked up. Anyway. At the end of the tour, the very last show was in Nashville. Yeah. And we used to do an MC5 cover, and it just so happened Wayne Kramer was in town. He came up and jammed with us. It was just amazing. So we're like backstage after, going, yay, what a fun tour, yay, what a fun show, yay, Wayne Kramer. And all of a sudden, the door opens, and it's Nico McBrain. Yeah. Big bag. He waddles up to me and sets it down in front of me. He says, Mike, you're a great drummer. Need new cymbals. He gave me this cymbal bag full of like 13 cymbals. It goes like that. Feisty cymbals. Isn't that killer? That's amazing. I mean, one thing I was going to say is that one thing that Nico McBrain has is drums and cymbals. He definitely has a bunch of them. He has that one tom that's like on the right. I never could figure out how he hit it. He's got a right cymbal kind of draped over. But he hit it. I guess he's had a little practice to it. Yeah, exactly. And it's wonderful when you see him in action and he turns around and does the roll, because sometimes you wonder whether it's a bit overkill having so many drums, but actually when you see them in action. And also back in the day I saw Wasp, and one thing I like about Wasp's sound is that roll that keeps going through. I remember seeing them before Crimson Idol, they played Donington,
and the drummer just with a big smile on his face and doing the roll all the time, going all the way around. That was really nice.
I think I saw Wasp with Metallica.
Right.
Wasp and Armored Saint, I think.
Okay, that must have been awesome.
I think it was either Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets. I don't remember.
Oh wow, that must have been a time.
Yeah, that was a good show. Philadelphia, Tower Theater. Remember it like it was yesterday.
I can imagine. Yeah, I've got some amazing memories of gigs from when I was younger.
Yeah, right.
Actually, another reason it's good to speak to you as well. You're talking about Nick and McBrain, but I know it's a kind of different genre of rock. But a couple of months ago, I spoke to Kelly Keagy from Night Ranger, and he was talking about how he started drumming, and he kind of had to drum because he was with, like yourselves, they're friends with the guys, and they were all starting to play, and he was a bit of a guitarist, but they wanted to make a band out of it, and then in their neighborhood, they knew a lot of other friends and musicians, but like when you're trying to play, there's lots of guitarists, but no one really playing drums. So he had to learn drums as well to make the band happen. And then he was singing as well. Like he learned to drum and sing at the same time.
Wow. Where were they from? I don't remember.
They're from the Midwest as well, but a bit more west than you guys.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because we're on the East Coast. We're in between DC and Atlanta, in Raleigh.
Actually, they're from San Francisco.
Yeah, I was thinking that they might be from the Bay Area.
Okay.
Many good bands from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were saying about, like I was saying with you, about that time of the 70s into the 80s. Yeah, he was talking a lot about what an exciting time in music as well, because, you had the Black Sabbath into the punk. And then it's like the influences from each of those sounds then formed what then came after, like you said, with Slayer, because it's one thing I enjoy actually about meeting the local bands in London and the people I have in my show, that you can often have a band that's formed and each of the members has an influence of a different type. So you'll have one member who is like Black Sabbath, or then one member who liked black metal, or one member that liked singer-songwriter acoustic music. And then what is created with them together is something new. And in the 80s, that must have been happening a lot, because you had all the kind of maybe hair metal, then you had the heavy stuff, and then in the 80s, it must have been a big explosion. So, like, as I said, you guys were really part of that wave that was coming out of that.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, like everybody in the bands there have similar influences, but not completely. And people's tastes and the influences kind of ooze into each other and becomes this one creature.
Exactly, that wasn't there before, and you then create the influences of what comes next. Like I'm sure, as I said, that other bands that you've influenced over the years, and bring it forward. And I think it's been part of that stoner rock and doom scene as well. I've been getting into that a lot more, like I said, with these wonderful bands I've been seeing in the UK, but also as well in America. Like I'm big fans now of Paul Bearer, and they've brought along some of that as well. So you can feel the influence of stoner in that, but also the kind of doom side and the good vocals and stuff. So it's an exciting time for sure.
Yep, that's right.
Well, wonderful, Reed. I guess
I'm glad you like the new record. I'm glad you like the new album, man. We're all pretty proud of it. I mean, I told Monty when we were about to sign, I said that we'd give him one of the best, if not the best, COC records. I promised him, and I think we delivered on that promise.
That's a key point of it as well. So you guys are back together, the original members, and so you're carrying your experiences of what you've learned at each album along the line, the tours and the songwriting. And so it's kind of the similar groovy sound, the heaviness to it, but it's also a bit different, and it's very big sounding as well. So the production has evolved as well. So it's become to this wonderful crescendo pinnacle point in your guys' careers.
Yeah, I don't think we could do an album without John Custer. I don't think we would, or George Martin. I don't think we would ever want to.
Exactly.
It's an integral part of our whole sound and what we do. And
why should you have to? If he's there and still wants to do it, and you guys are friends and if you want to make music, then
right.
Keep going. Yeah, I mean, so how do you see it unfolding after this? I guess it's difficult to say after then touring and any ideas of more writing or what might come next?
John lives in Raleigh. He lives in Raleigh, North Carolina as well. I think we're supposed to have sushi later tonight.
Great.
Yeah, man.
So do you have any thoughts of if and when you might want to make another album, or any ideas of any seeds of the songs you might want to create for that?
Well, hopefully we're out on the road with this one for a while.
Yeah, it might be a bit early to say. Yeah.
I love recording, so I mean, we're definitely going to do another record with this lineup of COC and with John Custer at the helm. But hopefully, we get on some big tours and get to cruise around some. Maybe get to play places we've never played before. Like, I've never played Australia before, or New Zealand. Those guys have, but I haven't.
Oh, so there you go. And yeah, they'll want to see you again, so that'll be a good place to go.
Yeah, I'm going to get that. Well, there's all sorts of places. I want to go back to South America, go to Japan, and some places in Southeast Asia. Yeah, all sorts of places.
And lots of places that'll want to see you as well, like in Japan, they're always enthusiastic. And South America as well, there's that recent, even didn't Iron Maiden make a mini documentary about it, them flying between those cities.
Ridiculous whenever they play there. The first time we played Japan, this was pre 9/11, so there was people fans at the airport waiting for us. I don't know if they got through the security area or what, but I remember there being a bunch of COC fans, and it's like, how did they know we were here? And then we get to sign autographs and stuff, and then we went on the train or whatever, there was fans on that. And then when we got to the hotel, there was fans there.
It's like your Beatles moment.
I know. That's what it felt like. It's funny.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you when you hit London.
Yeah, man. Well, hopefully it'll be sooner than later.
Yeah.
It's fun playing that. It's fun. When we were doing the 3-piece, I think we played with the Underground or something like that. Is that what it's called?
Oh, the Underworld. Yeah.
Underworld. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lovely little zone there. Camden's quite a good little scene for some of the venues.
Yeah. They've all got shit going on over there. Is Brixton Academy still there?
It is still there. Yeah, that's still going strong.
I remember seeing Faith No More there, and then it was like early 90s or something. Mike Patton joined the band, and they were huge over there.
I think I was at that gig as well. It's funny talking about the back again. Us at that gig, I cracked my ribs because in Brixton Academy,
Shit, are you serious?
yeah, they had those kind of bars going down the slope, obviously to stop people from surging.
Oh shit!
But I went up on one. I went up in that to try to jump off to crowd. I went to crowd surf, and sensibly the people below me separated when they saw me coming, and I landed straight in my back on this sort of plastic cup, and yeah, I cracked my ribs. So that was an uncomfortable couple of months. So that's my memories of seeing Faith.
Because it was such a good show.
It was a great show, yeah.
Was that the one where Patton was wearing the British cop helmet thing?
That's right. Was that the one didn't they make the album from that, the Brixton Academy album, the live one of the real thing? Yeah.
I think maybe you're right. Yeah, that was a fun show.
Yeah, that's pretty much a classic venue in London, and of that size as well. Because some of the bigger ones, it seems to be changing because Earl's Court's no longer there. Sadly, that's gone.
Oh right. Oh, yeah. Earl's Court is gone?
It is, yeah. Making apartments out of in that area now. So the only big one on that scale is the O2 Dome in the east, and also Wembley Arena is still there.
Oh, right. Got to build those apartments. Got to make some money, build those apartments.
Yeah, and London's gone crazy with all the gentrification and the property prices. So all the developers are finding every kind of prime spot they can to rinse money out of it.
God, I can only imagine what the cost of living is in London.
Yes.
I was just in San Francisco. A friend of mine has a studio just south of there in Brisbane, and we were working and stuff. He lives in San Francisco. It was only like 5 minutes away. But God, I couldn't. I wanted to move there in the 80s. And it was too expensive for me then.
Right.
And now it's like ridiculous. All those tech people and shit. I mean, Zuckerberg, everybody, and everything else. Can
you imagine? In London, it's a lot of people from Russia and China buying properties now and not living there, just using it to store money and have it, as an investment.
About that, yeah. Seems like some sketchy stuff.
Exactly. Like,
I heard about that like on the news or something, yeah.
Yeah, like kind of money laundering, and, the gentrification thing's continuing as well. Areas changing, so and unfortunately a lot of people that were living there before, like the artists especially, they're not able to stay there, so people having to move around a bit.
Didn't Brixton used to be more like I wouldn't say Jamaican, but it didn't used to be kind of like a lower income area?
It was, yeah, it was very cheap to live in, yeah, kind of a bit more gritty for sure, but it was like a great time for creativity as well, so you had all sorts of people there, like as you say, like Jamaican people, musicians. There was some interesting scenes there.
I think Bob Marley did a famous show there.
That's right. He did, yeah.
Yeah. The one show that like probably about 15,000 people say that they are at.
I was about to say that. Yeah, it's one of those gigs where if all the people that said they were there, it would have been like the biggest gig ever.
Exactly. And I was there. It was awesome.
That's probably, I think, some early the Rolling Stone gigs where that one where the Hell's Angel incident happened. I think a lot of people said they were there as well.
Oh, Altamont or whatever it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good idea, having Hell's Angels do your security.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
Shocker.
Yeah, sadly. And yeah, good to catch you now on this Christmas Eve. Hopefully you're about to have a wonderful time with your folks. That's going to be great.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. You too.